This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends Talking Nerdy.
Welcome to Friends Talking Nerdy, part of the Deluxe Edition Network. Head to deluxeeditionnetwork.com to find out about all of the lovely shows on the Den. This is Tim the Nerd, and seated next to me we have Professor Aubrey, and this week is guaranteed to see me joking a lot less.
Really?
Yes, because based on the topic, if I just start throwing some jokes out, what our friends at home might end up hearing is slaps against the head.
Of me slapping you?
Yes.
Well, we like to deal with things without violence around here.
Yes. Okay. Well,
Perhaps I'll take you to task.
Ooh.
No, I'll take you behind the woodshed.
All right. Well, this week, folks, I think we have a pretty interesting topic to talk about, and one that I'm kind of excited to learn about in a way, too, because it's something that, honestly, I've never heard this phrase before, but knowing about it, I can obviously, it's like, to me, it's like, duh, it's obvious it was there, but we're going to be talking about the true or false on perimenopause.
That's right. And as we age, you and I, we know more and more people who are experiencing perimenopause. Like, it's a regular topic of conversation between me and my friends now, which is interesting because we used to have the same kinds of conversations around our periods and like the symptoms accompanying our periods.
Does perimenopause end up matching up?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right. Well, the article in question we got is from our good friends at Psychology Today. It's written by Dr. Georgia Witkin, PhD. And again, title of the article, Perimenopause, True or False. We're going to put a link of this article in the show description so you can do a deep dive in it yourself. But how about I start off with the first true or false?
Sounds great.
We need, like, wild game show music here, like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Number one.
True or false? For most women, perimenopause begins in their 50s. The answer is false. Perimenopause can begin when women are in their mid-30s and early 40s. Although actual menopause starts when your menstrual period ends and there is no further menstruation for 12 consecutive months, perimenopause symptoms such as the slowing down of the body's production of estrogen and progesterone can begin while they are still actively menstruating. And good to know, obviously, because bodies change over time, and women, internally have some different things going on. Obviously, that, things will start kicking off and doing different things at different times. It's a poor way to say it, but hopefully you get my point.
Well, I think you might be saying something like women's bodies are so complex as to be able to create and deliver live a new mammal, right? Makes our bodies really complicated. Like, the hormones completely control that process. So they're powerful, and the fluctuation of them is significant.
Yes, and unfortunately, there are plenty of bad, quote-unquote, jokes out there of what women are like during this period. But if you are just a casual observer, an empathetic person, you can see, women go through a lot physically dealing with this stuff. And the hormones are just fluctuating like ocean waves or something like that. That can kick your ass physically to where you're sore, you're tired, and for periods, for instance, didn't they medically prove that the pain endured endured during a period is comparable to that of a heart attack.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Whoa. Heart attacks aren't that bad then.
Yeah. Well, you get my point. I mean, it is something.
I mean, there's a wide range of experiences with symptoms ranging from nothing at all to completely debilitating.
But it's still good to know because, stuff like this should be talked about. Like I said, I wasn't aware of this.
Mm.
Like, it makes sense that there would be a lack of a better phrase, a pre-show before the main show of menopause happens, but that's just how bodies end up working. They need to prepare for that next change.
Right.
Yep. All right. How about you dive into
Look at
number two
two.
for us? Yeah.
Number 2, true or false? Doo-doo-doo-doo. It takes about 1 year for most women to go through perimenopause. False. The NIH, the National Institutes of Health, reports the average is closer to 4 years. The symptoms can continue during menopause and up to 10 years after menopause. Because this can be such an extended transition, choosing to see perimenopause as a time of change, not loss, can help us keep our sense of humor and label the symptoms as inconveniences rather than disasters. Sure, I mean how we look at things, our perspective on things can certainly change how we feel about them, but it's wild to think the symptoms last that long, but like I feel like I've been going through perimenopause for like 5 years.
Well, and it's important to know that, yeah, it doesn't have just a strict, within one 365-day period, it will be over. It's good to understand and prepare for a future to where, yeah, like I mean, I think they talked about too, like periods start slowing down, so they're not necessarily happening every single month or at the time that they normally would. And so maybe I could imagine a scenario to where maybe somebody thought they didn't need to prepare for a particular day and then a period came.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And how frustrating that would be. So keeping this type of stuff in mind, it helps you prepare.
Certainly. And not only that, it helps you understand that you're not dying, that you don't necessarily have cancer. I mean, these are changes that are quite disturbing.
Yeah, and knowledge about stuff like this can make it to where you don't become like the type of person that goes to WebMD and automatically, automatically diagnoses themselves with the biggest, most massive illness they could find that somewhat relates to what they're experiencing, which may be the common cold.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. How about I go on to number 3?
Let's do it.
All right. Dun, 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 dun. True or false? Hot flashes and night sweats are the most common signs and symptoms of perimenopause. True. Hopefully, you're one of the women who have no physical changes they are aware of during perimenopause, but most can expect hot flashes and night sweats as the body adjusts to hormonal changes. The exact causes of hot flashes and night sweats are still not completely understood, but are thought to be related to the changing hormonal influence on the brain's thermoregulatory center, which controls heat production and loss. Some other common physical symptoms include heat palpitations, sleeping difficulties, headaches, a slower metabolism, and consequential weight gain, vaginal dryness, and decreased libido. I've seen women that have had to endure hot flashes, and wow, that it seems pretty intense because it seems like as the name implies, with flash, that it just boom, just suddenly hits you and kind of overwhelms you with that heat.
Yeah, not only that, there's like a dizziness associated with it, or like a feeling of tightness in your chest. Like it can make it difficult to breathe. Like I've experienced them when I was backpacking, and that was when I was like, I have to do something about this because I was like, I'm going to be in a dangerous situation and fall off a cliff or something because I'm going to have a hot flash in the middle of a long hike.
Yeah, which obviously you don't want to do, which is why, education is important. Also, education for people in my shoes. This is not stuff I'm going to have to physically endure myself. But if I am aware of it, then I could potentially be a support for someone that is experiencing stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How about you dive into number 4?
Okay, number 4. True or false? Perimenopause brain fog is real. True. This one even surprised me. I would have answered false until I read recent studies finding that women may experience memory lapses, difficulty concentrating, mood swings, and feeling out of it during perimenopause. The good news is that for most of us, it is a temporary side effect as our bodies adjust to the decreased estrogen levels. Interesting. This is, I think can be really disturbing if it happens because it's your cognitive ability that is suffering. And if you've been a high performer, it can be disturbing to then not be able to perform as well at work.
Yeah, and like take the mood swings too. Like I I know when I have like a cold or something like that, I get more crabby than I normally am. It's like no excuse for lashing out or anything like that. But if a person is going through such if their body is going through such internal strife, as it sounds like perimenopause is, I can understand where the little things would end up becoming big things because it's just like, fuck, leave me alone,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything feels like overwhelming.
hmm But yeah, to your point too, it's like especially the older you get, like the fact that things aren't always there for recall as they normally were is scary in and of itself. Having something, physically that's affecting that too, whether it be something short term like this or even somewhere down the line with like, dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that is quite scary to think of.
Indeed.
I mean, there have been plenty of times these past few years where I've tried to remember something and couldn't remember it, but I knew that if it were 10 years before, it would have came like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, there's a combination of things going on for sure.
hmm All right. You want me to go on to number 5?
Sure.
All right. Number 5, true or false? Like PMS, perimenopause can mean mood swings and increased emotionality. As we discussed, true. In the past, these symptoms were often explained as disappointment over diminishing fertility, the impact on family building plans, concern about aging parents, or hearing people your own age described as middle-aged. In other words, life stress. Current research finds the psychological symptoms caused by perimenopause are as real as the physical symptoms. Because hormonal fluctuations, particularly the decline in estrogen, can affect neurotransmitters responsible for emotional regulation, there is an increased risk of depression and anxiety during perimenopause. In fact, last month, University College of London released findings that women are 40% more likely to experience depression during perimenopause than women who are not experiencing perimenopause. And yeah, I can understand that, especially with all the volatility that's going on inside that can make things pretty miserable. And if you're feeling miserable, like think of how many times a person has had the flu and then felt depressed while they had the flu during that like 2-week period or something like that.
Right, because you feel like you're dying.
Yeah.
And then you start feeling better, but you still can't do anything because you don't feel that good.
Yep. And it's still depressed. Like it's that, yeah, just I I can relate in a lot of ways. And it's good to know that this is something that is linked. It's the more I know, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you wanted to say?
I think these are the classic symptoms. This is what everybody thinks is happening for every woman. And like I said, there's always going to be a range of experiences, but I think when people think of menopause, those are the symptoms they think of. Particularly the irritability. Like there's this trope of women being, crabby, naggy, easily upset during menopause.
Which, in some cases may be true. But again, as what we've talked about with all the physical stuff happening on the inside, like wouldn't you be? You know, I think that's just a fair question to ask. It's a tired trope, by the way. I'm not trying to defend the trope or anything like that, but anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. How about you go on with number 6?
Okay, here we go. The final one, number 6. True or false? Not much can be done about perimenopausal symptoms except grin and bear it. False. I hope you knew that the answer would be false. The more you know about perimenopause, the more you can practice strategies for intervention and management. And they have here some science-based suggestions. We could go through them briefly.
In terms of mentioning the names, yeah, we got cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation and mindfulness, stress management techniques, lifestyle choices, hormone replacement therapy. I would think that last choice there would, I assume it would be for more severe symptoms that happen during this process. That would maybe something that a woman may want to encounter. I mean, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, I think, we got to concentrate on the fact that it can relieve symptoms and, there doesn't have to be a cutoff level of pain and suffering, right? You should talk to your doctor, figure out whether it's something that is good for you. I mean, there is a link between increased estrogen and breast cancer. So, they might want to look into your background in terms of that before prescribing estrogen. They may want to prescribe a very low dose. I mean, there's just lots of individualized treatment choices.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the important thing is that there are choices. You don't have to just deal with it. This is not the Civil War. You don't have to grit on a bullet while the doctor saws off your leg. You can get help for this, and this is, something that should be talked about. People should educate themselves on whether it's something you directly experience or not, because even if as a man this is not stuff you directly physically have to endure as a human being during your life, you do know people that do, so be a support.
Certainly.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to say about perimenopause?
It's just a bear of a situation.
By the time
you get to Phoenix,
yeah,
I'll be rising.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll send it to one of our friends at the Deluxe Edition Network. Hang tight after that commercial and come on back and we'll have some more stuff to talk about.
This is Take on the World with Johnny and Mike. And, people always ask me, hey, you got a podcast? What's it about?
I don't know. You ever want to cut your fingers off or learn about a sharp knife?
We could tell you that.
How about murder mysteries or hauntings or any kind of fringe subject?
Anything you could think of. We take on everything because we take on the world.
Now you go take on the world.
Professor Aubrey has a package in her hands that we have to say is quite delicious.
It is, Tim. It's Brazil from Coffee Bros. An amazing coffee with notes of cocoa and cherry candy.
Nice.
Delicious.
Indeed it was. I mean, like you and I, we both drink coffee in very different ways. I need it, 9,000 degrees hot. And me, I make my coffee and then put in as many ice cubes as I can. I'm like the guy from Clerks, what am I supposed to drink this coffee hot? Type of guy. But you tried it your way, I tried it my way, and we both really enjoyed the flavor of this particular flavor of coffee.
Absolutely. It is a relatively new roastery in New York, New York. Those little town blues.
Yep.
Taking the Coffee Bros away.
Exactly.
Anyway, they're relatively new. They've been roasting since 2019.
Yes, but they do have great connections around the world in the coffee growing areas to be able to get the best beans, to be able to give their customers the best product. And you, our friends at home, if you go to coffeebros.com and you order your own batch of this coffee or any other of the delicious brands of coffee that they have on their website, in the promo code spot, you put FTN10, we're going to be able to save you 10%.
That's right, 10%. It's going to be like $1.50. It's going to be awesome.
But that's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for.
That's right.
$1.50 when you need it.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, you won't be able to get on the city bus, but you will be able to save some money to be able to get some wonderful coffee. Again, head to coffeebros.com and in the promo code box, put in FTN10 and you will be able to have some delicious coffee.
Yep.
Drink away, people.
All right, we are back, and I want to talk about a recent purchase I made.
Okay, that's pretty rare that you make a purchase.
Yeah, I'm quite frugal and easy to please, let's put it that way. But when I heard that there was going to be a new TV channel called Me TV Tunes, I needed access to that channel. It's an over-the-air channel that is essentially what Cartoon Network and Boomerang used to be.
Right, it's all tunes all the time.
Yeah, just over the air. So I spent $40 on Amazon and got a TV antenna, and we'd have regular TV again. And it's really made me think about streaming services and just how the real losers in the streaming war were the people like me forking money over to keep these people in business based on a lie. That lie was, we can give you all this entertainment with no ads.
That's right. That somehow everyone paying a little bit was going to make it affordable to make content.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, people, yeah, it's sad in a lot of ways because there was so much potential with streaming, but in a lot of ways too, I think the big problem came when, the big companies wanted to take everything under their umbrella and put it, like, HBO with or Warner Brothers with their Max service. It's called Max now. They couldn't just have a Looney Tunes app that you pay to access. They couldn't just have, an HBO specific with the HBO shows. They had to fit everything all in one, and it's becoming cable again. And
Yeah, by the time you get all of the services you would need to see perhaps every show that you want to see, you would be paying the same amount that you would pay for cable, for like deluxe cable.
True. The beauty, the thing to think of though is that, and this is the beauty of streaming, is that the positive is that you do have the ability to say for this for this month or two, I'm going to watch this streaming service and then unsubscribe and then go to the next one. But with the way they're jacking their prices up, it seems every few months, that's becoming less and less economically viable. Like even NBC with Peacock, I got an email recently stating that the basic service that I pay for $5.99 a month now going to be $7.99 a month. And you know why? The Olympics.
Oh.
Yeah, because big sporting events like that are generally what they call loss leaders, I believe. They are going to lose money, but the
Because
amount,
it costs so much to produce.
because it costs so much to produce, but the eyeballs that come watch those products, and if successful, can stay with the network the rest of the year until the next thing until the next season or sporting event happens. I mean, it's like with football, like TV stations that carried football always lost money, but it was still popular, got a lot of eyeballs, so they were able to say, hey, this is our new show that's going to debut after the Super Bowl, come watch us.
Or they could sell expensive advertisements.
That too, but we're getting back to that particular world of ads and apps, and it's not that the only issue I've ever had with streaming services and ads has to do with improper ad placement. What do I mean by that? It's especially atrocious in movies, to where you'll be watching a movie and just like right in the middle of a scene, right in the middle of a character saying a monologue, boom, they'll slap a commercial in. They don't wait until it's going to like the next scene or something.
Right, because it was set on like a certain amount of time going by, not what was happening. It was AI rather than, the human watching it and determining, as an artistic point when the ad should occur.
Yeah. And now you also have services like Paramount Plus with their Paramount Plus with Showtime, which is their big bundle. They still have ads at the beginning of their shows. It's like you're paying to not have the ad experience, but they'll throw in an ad for a new Paramount Plus show, and it's just like that's what I'm not. That's not
That's
what I'm paying
still an
for.
ad. That's
That-
still an ad.
yeah. So with that, with Paramount Plus, I went back to the basic plan. I mean, $5.99 a month, I feel is a fair price to be able to, watch Star Trek with a few ads.
Sure.
Whenever I want. But just big reason I got that antenna was just to have another way to cut off the teat of streaming services, if that makes sense. It's just streaming services are to the point now to where I'm not really interested in them anymore, if that makes sense. It's like they're there. It's that whole thing, I guess, too, of, when you are given everything, the choice becomes much harder.
And the value goes down. It's supply and demand. So
Yeah.
the more that is produced, which seems to me what's happening, that was the thing about Netflix originals, was that they could just make so many movies and so many TV shows, and some of them would obviously bomb. It wasn't the same process to get a show on one of the three networks, right? Like there was a whole editing process that didn't seem to be happening at Netflix, at least for a while.
Well, Netflix had a particular reason why they had to do that because they found out that the other companies like Disney, like Warner Brothers, were going to put money into their own apps. They had existing contracts for shows like The Office. The Office was a big hit on Netflix, but they knew at a certain point it was going to go away. So if people were going to stay on Netflix, they had to create original content that could potentially speak to people. And when you are a streaming service that is expected to have lots of choices, you have to give people lots of choices. And so, yeah, they flooded the market with new production. And I think, we're seeing that in Hollywood now too. It's like after the strike, I think the studios kind of did a big reset, which was needed, but it's also putting a lot of people out of work too, sadly. And, as we've talked about, the people that are probably the first ones that were going to be, losing Hollywood jobs are people of minority persuasion, making stories that weren't normally told. That was one of the beauties of what Netflix was able to do. They were allowing, TV shows or movies to be made by voices that weren't getting a chance to, make a TV show that was going to appear on cable or broadcast TV or make a movie that would appear in theater. But they were given that. And now, because it's going back to not, because it was just a content
Bigger
back.
productions.
Yeah, it's bigger productions, but not making as much stuff. Because they're not making as much stuff, the people that have the quietest voice,
The marginalized
yeah.
are marginalized.
Once again, I mean, not once again. I mean, I say that, and it sounds like like, oh, the marginalized. Everything was over. It's equality. Yay! No, that was not the case. But they were given a voice, and that is taken away again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I rambled.
Which is, just a demonstration of vulnerability.
Yeah, and also another thing to think of too, like more and more, like Best Buy a few months back stopped selling physical Blu-rays in their stores.
I believe it.
And
Who's buying those?
well, I mean, I think the smart thing would have been to do that because now, like, and we've discussed this on the show before too, like if you purchase a movie on iTunes, you're purchasing the license to watch it.
Right.
It is not your physical copy forever and ever. If the production company no longer wants to put their movies on iTunes and the contract comes up and Apple will remove that and you will not have access to that movie that you purchased. And that is a sad thing in a lot of ways. But if you think about it, like the general consumer for only a short amount of time, if you think about it in the broad terms of history, had the physical access to the entertainment. It was only a short period from like the start of the VCR, the 70s till, like now it's dying.
Right. So it really wasn't around for that long. But sort of like the transistor radio or the tube TV, like the technology just changes, but that entertainment is still available.
It's just, I think people are finding out more and more that because most everything now is just available digitally, and things that you love watching digitally could go away at the snap of a finger to save hard drive space for one of these massive servers. If it's not being watched enough, some things just, physical media is important. And traditional media, I think, is important as well. It's like we are witnessing a change as to what over-the-air TV will be in the future. Who knows? But I still see a use for it. Overall, having the antenna here has been nice. Like last night, I was able to watch SmackDown on Fox.
Hey, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know priorities, people, but I would just say to people out there, if you are finding yourself becoming disillusioned with streaming services, it's only $40 to get an antenna. And people may gripe about, what do I got to get an antenna for my HD TV? I mean, we had antennas on our old TVs in the 80s and before.
Yeah.
They're just a part of the TV.
Bunny ears.
Bunny ears with a tin foil on top. And your mama told you to go move the antenna, and you had to stand and move it slowly until it got into the right spot. And if you moved it or messed around with it, mama would yell at you.
That's right.
Yeah, but buy that HD antenna. It's only $40. You're going to open yourself up to some decent channels. I mean, a lot of it is just like Nick at Night type of stuff.
It does have the shopping channels, which is dangerous for me.
Yeah, those are...
I love watching QVC.
Yeah, QVC and Home Shopping Network are now over-the-air channels. But just consider buying a TV antenna, because I think you will see that you don't necessarily have to be attached to a streaming service for stuff. I mean, we can get sports that come over the air. Now, if I wanted to watch a Detroit Lions game, different story for me here in Portland, Oregon.
Right, but you can watch the Blazers.
Yeah, I can watch the Blazers or the Seahawks. I mean, what a stupid name. The Seahawks sounds like your kid's sister named that football team. We gotta let her name one. Oh, Seahawk! Type of deal.
You think it's not very macho?
It doesn't. Because when I think of the NFL, it's like the frozen tundra, the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, and the Seahawks. Yeah, it doesn't.
It's like the Wizards.
They had to change their name, though. The Washington Wizards used to be called the Washington Bullets.
Whoa. Yeah, Wizards way better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We've gone through quite an evolution, right?
Especially as sports team names, if you think about it. It's only been the past couple of years that the Cleveland Indians baseball team changed their name to the Cleveland Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a team that was almost 100 years old, and then they ended up changing that name. So keep fighting, people, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you are insulted by or don't like a name of an organization or a sporting club, I think you should absolutely be able to pressure them to change it.
Yeah. But back to the antenna, though, like a lot of the channels that you would get via the antenna, like MeTV, they do have apps as well. But one $40 purchase compared to $7.99 a month for a particular app, like it makes more sense to just spend $40 to get that antenna, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's good stuff out there, people. Just reassess what you need from streaming. Like I get the urge that you want to try out the services, you want to see what you like and everything, but you don't need them all.
No, I mean, if you had them all, you wouldn't be able, I mean, when are you going to watch all this?
Exactly. Just don't give rich people even more money unnecessarily. Be smarter.
Yeah, and I mean, since you bring up streaming services, and one of the big streaming services and one of the first streaming services was Amazon. And it was just Amazon Prime Day recently. Did you know that during Amazon Prime Day, the injuries and deaths at Amazon warehouses double?
Yes, I had a very kind professor tell me this yesterday.
Well, yeah, but I was telling our audience.
Yes.
Yes. So that really made me think about using Amazon and being a member of Amazon Prime. And I thought to myself, I really shouldn't do that because I really shouldn't support inhumane working conditions for anyone.
Yeah, Amazon has its pros. It does. That is undeniable. But the cons more and more make it to where, yeah, like you want to not be a part of the problem. And especially on Prime Day, because as we were talking about this yesterday, like I told you, the fact that it's been proven that companies that sell their products on Amazon about a month before Prime Day will actually jack their prices up so that when Prime Day hits and you you see that they are,
It's
lowering the price a
40%
bit,
off.
but it's still more than what it was like a month or two previous.
Right.
So they're still making money hand over fist. And I mean, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of examples of brick and mortar stores that do the same thing. It's still dishonest. But when you have Amazon being one of the largest employers in the country now, getting up there at least, maybe not the number one, but they're getting close. You want to do your best to help them out. Now, these are people that have, on their own volition, taken those jobs. And with any job that you have, there could potentially be an inherent risk of injury of some sort, depending on the type of job. But yeah, if you as a consumer can hold back at certain time, it's like I think of like Black Friday, for instance. I mean, Black Friday it seems like now is no longer a thing, thank goodness. But back when it was a madhouse, did you really need that $300 computer just to see somebody trampled to death? No, you didn't.
Right.
You didn't really need that.
No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you think about what is it that you like about Amazon, and for me, it's the free shipping. So I can make, 12 purchases individually as I think of 12 things that I want to buy. And then the other thing is that you can find anything on Amazon. Like it's a one-stop shop kind of experience. And so, are those things so important to me that I would support unfair labor practices? People who are not protected at all, they have no union. And you say, people of their own volition have taken these jobs. But when it's one of the largest employers and when people economically are more and more depressed, the difference between the haves and the have-nots just getting wider and wider and wider. Do people really have a choice when they need a job to survive because we're a capitalist society? And those are the jobs that they can get.
I would say the answer does have some dependence upon region of the country. For more populated, city area, maybe there's going to be a lot more freedom. But, if we're talking the middle of nowhere,
and there happens to be an Amazon warehouse
that, is paying halfway decent. It's like how Walmart was back in the 80s. I mean, Walmart put a lot of small town businesses out of business, and those people had to find jobs. So the person that used to have the little florist shop that they owned that was put out of business by Walmart, guess who Walmart hired to run their floral department?
That person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've just been thinking about trying to replace my Amazon purchases with more local purchases. So could I find shops that stock, things that I want and support those shops? The issue is it takes so much time to do that.
I mean, that's how they get you. On the one hand, I would say it's something that I don't think people should necessarily be like one of those weird Catholic monks that whip themselves in the back,
Right.
for something like this, because it is there as a convenience. And when it does work as a convenience for you, that is great. But to your point, people should take more time to say, can I do this locally? Can I do this responsibly? If you are a person that reads about the Amazon working conditions and you get upset by it, you can still be an Amazon customer while still being cognizant of, maybe I will take my business locally here during this time of year, or do I need to have the Prime, subscription because like what
But
you.
even if I do I have to order 12 different times in a week?
Mhm.
Can't I save that up? Thus saving, it's just more work, more fuel, more everything to send me 12 different packages. But it costs me nothing. So it's the tragedy of the commons once again, which is inherent in our system, is that when things are free and have no cost, we don't value them. Another rant.
Damn it. I love these rants. Fuck Amazon.
Yeah, fuck Amazon.
Right in the ear. Jeff Bezos. Hope his little domed head caves in at some point. Just a bowl. Like from Halloween 3 season of The Witch, the one Halloween that didn't have Michael Myers. They had a scene to where the kid had a pumpkin head on his head, and then this weird image came on TV, and then the kid just started squeezing in the pumpkin, and that ended up offing him and all that.
Sounds riveting.
I know. Classy movie.
Sounds like it.
But just be a good. Oh, and that does remind me. I was gonna say because the Amazon thing kind of got me thinking too about like fast food.
Oh.
With franchises being as evil and manipulative as they fucking are, like, and especially too, like, the cost of getting a meal at McDonald's is now the same as us going down the road to Alberta Street Pub and ordering essentially the same things: a burger and fry and a drink.
Yes, except now, in order to respond to that and people stopping eating McDonald's based on the price, they now have a $5 value meal that includes fries and a burger and a drink.
I mean, I mean, that's what happens when you forget about who your core customers are. They thought that they could get people in paying more money for the same crap, but no, people viewed fast food places as just that. Just if you need something quick or like you're tired at the end of the night and you don't want to make dinner on your own, you stop by McDonald's. But I just don't feel comfortable, especially hearing about some of the practices of what these franchises are able to get away with.
Like what?
The biggest thing really is how they are one of the big pushers behind the scenes in Washington of not having the federal minimum wage raised.
Oh.
And, look at all of the torment these fast food workers have to go through. And yeah, I get it. Not all of them are the brightest crayons in the box, but you don't. To me, a person who is wealthy that chooses to go to a fast food restaurant and yell at somebody that works there, they're just a disgusting human being.
Yeah.
Like, these people go through a lot emotionally. It's like you want to think a fast food job is just there for a high school kid. It's not. Why would they be open on a Tuesday morning at 10:30?
Exactly.
Right.
It's not like the old sock hop where it was just open in the evening.
Yeah. I mean, Sunday night at 10 p.m. If a high school kid is still working, unless you're in Arkansas, that's against the law,
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, be kind to people out there. And when it comes to food or buying stuff, if there is a local option to do that, take advantage of it, because you're going to find it's going to be a lot better. Like Yang's Noodle down the road here, Chinese food place that if you are in Portland, definitely recommend you checking out. It's just a local place, but much better than Panda Express.
Oh my God, so much better than Panda Express, and they specialize in noodles, Chinese noodles, and everybody loves noodles.
Damn right. All right. Anything else you want to say to our friends before we stop rambling?
No, I think that's it. That's enough of a ramble for today.
Yes, end rant, people. All right. For the most electrifying professor in podcasting today, each Monday we'll have something in this podcast space to entertain your ear holes. Until we meet again, we bid you adieu.
So long, folks.
Now, is that Amazon package here?
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy
On YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Goodbye, darling.